Hello everybody, Steven here with Cardboard Coalition, and today we figured we'd bring you a how to play of Everdell, right? Now I understand this is the rules book, the Gilded Book, right? But the reason I popped that out to show you guys is because this is the complete collection. Well, let's see if I can put it in without knocking the tree over. And it'd be kind of hard to get this into shot. Oh, I guess I could have, right? The complete edition. Now I'm only going to go over how to play the base game of Everdell. And there are some extras in here. Things like the containers are extras that even these weren't even in the complete edition. They're extras, but I figured since I went all out with the complete edition, the metal coins, right? All these little containers. I think these are upgrades because they're wooden. You'd normally get cardboard with stickers on it. And then of course everything is sleeved. So these are all sleeved. That might be why the cards look a little funky if you have your Everdell looks a little different. Now, let's go ahead and jump into this. So let's go ahead and go over the setup of the game. First thing you do is you put the board out, the game board and the tree. It's a little tree that you put together, and the ongoing joke that I've heard before, and the times that I've played my version is, who's going to be the first, or even a friend's version when we played it, who's going to be the first to knock over the tree? Because there's cards down here that you draw out, right? All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the setup. How do we set this thing up after we do that? All right, pretty simple. Then you go ahead and you put out your resources. So you have your wood, right? It might be called logs. I always call it wood. You have your resin right here. Twigs. They call these twigs. These look like logs, not twigs. But you have your twigs, your resin, your pebbles, and your berries. Then you go ahead and put out your coins. If you have the base game, these are going to be cardboard. And these don't even come with the complete collection. These were extras that I bought. But you have your 1s, your 3s, and your 5s, and then you go ahead and put out your occupied tokens. Once you have those out, you go ahead and set up the force cards, right? So these are the force cards down here, and you have a stack of them, right? So you go ahead and you take the stack, you shuffle them around, and you put the 4 out. Now, there are some rules in the rule book if you're playing with less people, 3 people, you would not put one in the bottom right. You would not put a force card there. And you can also see when you look at these force cards right here, it shows the 4. That means that this spot is not used unless you have 4 more players. You play with 4 more players, it'd be used. This game's set up for 3 players, so we wouldn't be using that at all. Oh, I'm sorry, it's 3 force cards with 2 players. With 3 players, you still put out all 4 force cards. I said that wrong. So 2 players is the difference. 3 players isn't. So 3 to 4 players. That's why I was like, why didn't I do 4 players? That's why I used 3 players, because it's still the same as 4. All right, so back to the basic setup. All right, the next thing you do is you put out the 4 basic event cards. I guess this one kind of should have went over here. Or not basic event, they're tiles. So you have this tile. I think whenever I look at the rules, it kind of puts it right here because it's the Grand Tour, right? And this goes over here, the city monuments. Well, I guess they have names actually. I just realized that. The Harvest Festival, which would be the big tent, which I have there. And then, what is over here? It's an expedition. So it looks like I kind of messed these up. Every time I set them up, I'm always like, they're 3 points each, so you put them anywhere. But it looks like it goes like this, right? There's the monument, the city monument, so you can put that right there. I wonder if they fit better like this. And then this is the expedition. They're going out on a little expedition, so this one goes over here. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. They're 3 points for each one. I mean, the boat, obviously, you want to kind of have down in the river. But for the other things, it's 3 points. If you want to put them in different ways, I'm sure no one is going to yell or scream at you for that. All right. So once you go ahead and you put out the basic event tiles, you go ahead and you have a stack of these cards as well, which are special events, right? And they do, they're special things that go on with this, and we'll talk about it in the placement when you place things. But you have a stack of them, you shuffle them, and you put as many out based on the amount of players, right? So it's 4 special event cards all the way up to 5 and 6, and then it changes. But don't worry, if you have the expansions, they'll explain how to do it. Or if you have the complete collection and you're looking through it that way, it shows you how to do it. Or it tells you how to do it. It doesn't show you, it kind of tells you. There's a nice picture too. But all right, then the next thing you want to do is you want to shuffle all your critter and construction cards. This deck right here, see all these cards out there? As you can see, some are construction, some are critters. You go ahead and shuffle those all up. You slide them in right here, and then you go ahead and you fill up the meadow. So you put 8 cards out in the meadow. Once that's done, it says in the book to have players choose their color. And that's fine, but it also tells you to give each player a certain amount of cards. What I say is go ahead and pick who the first player is. In the rules, it'll tell you, in the setup and the rules, it'll tell you at the end of the setup, right? Pick the first player to go. But you need to know who the first player is, and you'll see why right now. So I go ahead and say you pick the first player. The book says pick the most humble, the humblest, the most humble. Yeah, the most humble or the humblest player. I was gonna say the most humblest player. Anyways, you go ahead and pick the humblest player. How I usually go about doing it is I just say, okay, who's the humblest person here? And of course, I always say I'm the humblest. I don't want to be the first player. I think it's unfair, especially with people new to the game. So I always go, I'm the humblest. And then other people either say they're the humblest. You might get some person that doesn't say anything. It might be because they're not paying attention, or they might choose someone else. And then my argument is there's the humblest person. So figure out who's the humblest, however you want. And then go ahead and let everyone pick their colors. And you could do it in order if you want, or just everyone pick. And then there's a set of cards that go. So how gameplay goes is you have your first player and then you go clockwise around the table. So I know this is kind of set up a little weird because I don't have it all around, but it's to fit it in the shot. All right, so let's say Turtle here is the first player. They get 5 cards, right? The next player gets 6 cards. The player to their left, and I guess in this way, how these would set up is they should flip over, right? It should be something more like this, right? First player to the left would be this player. They would get their 6 cards. Oh, now I'm messing up the pretty cards. And then the next player would get 7 cards. The fourth player gets 8 cards. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that your hand limit is 8 cards total. So you get 8 cards. You can never go over that. If something tells you to get cards, you can't go ahead and pick more than what you're supposed to have. All right. So here you go. You get the cards. Everyone gets their cards. They're all set up. Then at that point, you're ready to play the game. Now, what is this game about? This game is about setting up your city, which the first time I played this kind of threw me off. So each person is setting up their city that they have, their town, right? And this is just the general area. And the reason it kind of confused me is because this looks like a town here, right? It's like a town, but everyone's setting up their own town. And how they do that is by putting constructions and critters into their town, right? Now, how you know someone has the best town is the person with the most points. Anything that has that golden circle with numbers in it, points, right? You got a point, points on these cards, points, right? Points up here, points in all these events. So it's points. So you want to have the most points. That's how you win the game. Now, you do that by building your city. So let's go ahead and jump into this. So starting with the first player and going clockwise around the table, you have to do one thing. You have 3 options. Your first option is place worker. Second option is to play a card. And third option is to prepare for the season. Now, you have to do one of those. If you can't put a worker or play a card, right? Pay the cost and play a card. We'll talk about playing cards here in a second. You go ahead and then you would prepare for the season, which kind of sets you up for the next round. But we'll get into that in a second. Let's start with the first thing you can do, which is place a worker. Anything that has a little paw print means you can place a worker there. So anywhere where there's a little paw print, you can go ahead and place a worker. Now, there's certain things to these workers. You have a closed circle, as you can see right here, or I guess I can lift one of these cards up and show you guys. You have these closed circles, right? Closed circles mean one worker can go there. Then you have ones that have this bigger circle and it's open. That means more than one player can go there and multiple players can go there. Or more than one player and multiple of the same player. So, you know, Squirrel, maybe one turn places here, and another turn, Squirrel can actually place here. The one place where you can't put more of your workers is on the forest card. So let's say this is 4-player. 3, we're not allowed to use that spot. Let's say it's 4-player. The Squirrel player couldn't later put another worker right here. They can only put one worker. Even if it was a 4-player game, they still can't use that, right? But anywhere up here, so this is an open circle, you can put multiple workers, multiple workers, multiple workers, multiple workers. Squirrel can go here and then later on go here if they want to. That's kind of how it works, right? Same with up here. Squirrel can have 2 cards that they're about ready to go off, so they put the workers up there. But we'll talk about that here in a second when we go through what all these spots are. So closed circle means you can't put a worker. Open circle means more than one worker can go there. And then in every space except for the forest spaces, one player, a single player, can't put more than one of their workers there. The rest of the places, you can put more than one worker. All right, so let's go ahead and jump through these. These are going to change up. These tend to be powerful abilities, as you can see over there. 3 berries. There's not a lot of places to get that many berries. You have 2 berries and 2 cards. So the iconography is pretty easy to get through to understand on here. So places that you can put your worker. These are your basic places. Basic places, forest places, right? You can go here. Obviously, it gives you 3 wood. If you go here, it gives you 2 wood, and you get to draw a card. And remember, if you have 8 cards in your hand, you can't draw a card. If you have 7, you can draw a card. All right. You go here. You get 2 resin. Resin, draw a card. No, I kind of knocked that at some point. 2 cards in a victory point. These are your victory points. So this is one thing where the cardboard kind of is a little bit better because the cardboard cutouts look just like that. I mean, these do, but they're a little fancier. I don't know if you guys can tell. That's a 1, right? So you would get 1 victory point and you'd be able to draw 2 cards, right? Or you get 1 pebble. Over here, pebble, draw a card, and over here is pebble. So those are your basic locations. Like I said, the forest locations are just better locations. They have better things you can do. Down here in the Haven, you have, you can get rid of, you may discard any number of cards from your hand. For every 2 cards, you can choose any resource. So what that picture is, I don't know if anybody has them in their cards. What that picture is a basket with a whole bunch of, with all the if you look at it close, it's a basket with all the resources. So this one, you can get rid of as many cards as you want in your hand. Maybe you need to get rid of 1 card. Maybe you want to get some resources, so you get rid of 2 cards, but you can do that right here. I just noticed the glare is pretty bad right there. I'm sorry, guys. So you can get rid of as many cards as you want by going here, and then for every 2, you can get a resource of your choice. Now, I know this is down here. We'll get into it, but let's go ahead and go over some of this stuff. Now, you have your basic events down here. What this is saying is, we'll use these as our example cards again. This one, the Grand Tour, it shows you right there. It's the paw print. So whoever has the first one to get 3 paw prints, they can put their worker there. And then when they prepare for the season, they take their worker back. They permanently take this with them. So they get those 3 points. And no one could take this from them once they've done that, right? So you have your basic events, and it's just getting so many. So this is 3, and I always forget the name of them. 3 scrolls, 3 paws, 3 plants, or 4 plants, right? There's the Harvest Festival. And then over here is, I always just call it the Vagabond, right? But 3 vagabond ones. It's probably hard for you guys to see because of the tree. When you're sitting at the table, you can see everything. In this top view, it makes it hard. I guess what I could do is you guys can watch me knock the tree over on my own. Let's go like this. Is it still in shot? No, we want tree in shot though. Oh, you just messed up, Stephen. All right, maybe something a little bit more like that. All right, that's, I'm really gonna knock that tree over. All right, so those are the basic events where you can place your worker. Now up here, how these work is you have to hit the requirements. Now you can never block a worker. You can never place and not do at least part of what you're supposed to do in that space. If I wanted to block someone from getting pebbles, I can't go there. Oh, you can get as many pebbles as you want. I can't go somewhere and block them. None of these sound good. This is a good block. I can't go here to try to block someone because I think later on I'm going to have that. So to get this, what you have to do is meet the requirements. In this one, you have to have a cemetery and a shepherd already in your city. And we'll talk about that here when we talk about playing cards. So if I've hit these requirements, I can put my little worker there. Same with the basic events, these special events. When you prepare for the season, you have nothing else you can do. You bring all your meeples back and you get this card. No one can take it from you. And it gives you stuff. This is the end of score or end of round scoring. This is just some flavor text on the bottom. This is just a little bit of, it's the title of it. Now, some of these have some instance, right? When achieved, pay 2 berries to discard 2 cards from your city. So you can kind of clean up your city if maybe things are going wrong, you need to adjust. You don't have to do it, but you can do it. So if you place the worker there, you have to already have achieved that stuff. Same as down here. That's another place you can block. You can't go here because you think of, in your next turn, you're going to be able to put down the 3rd paw. You have to already have that in your city to go ahead and put someone there. All right. Now, the last thing to go over is right here, right? There's dust on here. Right here, this is your journey track. Now, what you do with the journey track is you want to do this when you're playing the autumn season. So you start in the winter, late winter, or you can think whatever. You start in the winter, you prepare for spring, prepare for summer, prepare for autumn, and then you go into winter again, and that's the end. So once you've prepared for autumn and you've gotten all your meeples, so just keep in mind when you have all your meeples, then you might think about placing on this track. I mean, I guess you could do it anytime, but then you might think about placing on this track because your workers permanently stay in that spot. Now, how this works is you have to get rid of as many cards as you have there, right? Must discard equal 2 points. And once again, squirrel can go here, right? Let's say people fill up, all the other ones. Squirrel could also go right here for another 2 points, but they have to be able to get rid of that many cards in their hand, right? So they have to be able to hit that requirement. All right, with that said and done, sorry, I'm shaking the camera a little bit. It knocked it off its, you can see my funky carpet floor. All right, so this is the first thing you do. You can place workers. Next thing you could do is you could play cards. Now you could play cards from your hand, right? Any cards that you have in your hand, or from the meadow. To play them, you have to have the cost that it requires. Is there anything with no cost? There are some cards that have no cost. The cemetery has no cost. This is actually 2 pebbles, right? But you have this cost in the upper left, right? This is the cost of the card. Now, this is the lookout. So this is a construction spot. Cost of the card. This is the type of card it is. It's supposed to say the number of cards. I can't tell from that if it does. Lookout, points that you get at the end. This is any special thing that the card does. And then for constructions, you can put out a critter for free. So for construction, you'd have to pay for that. But as you can see, let's see if I can get it close enough so you guys can see. This one, if you already have the lookout in your city, you can get the Wanderer for free. And what that would look like is once you do that, you would take one of these Occupy tokens and you would put it on the card. So you can't get another Wanderer out for free. And I know for a fact there's more than one Wanderer, right? Now, if the construction ever leaves your city for any reason, it doesn't mean the Wanderer would leave your city if you had put the Wanderer out. And the same as if the Wanderer goes, it doesn't mean you get to take this away and get another Wanderer in for free. It's a one-time use thing, and that's what the Occupy token's for. All right, now how do you get critters out? How you get critters out is you pay the cost, or it'll tell you up here what construction, the upper left, it'll tell you which construction site lets you play this card for free. So this one is the resin refinery. So if you would have the resin refinery in your city, you would be able to go ahead and put the chip sweep out, right? The same here, this lets you get the queen out, right? Construction, there's the wood carver. They're all connected to buildings. Now, when you're building your city, you pay the cost. Let's say we've paid the cost. Let's say we had the 3 berries. You pay the cost and you just go ahead and put that in your city, or we can angle it a little bit. Now, you can't have more than 15 cards in your city, right? The exception is there are certain cards like the Wanderer. The Wanderer doesn't count towards your city, right? The other thing is there are, oh, I have one right here. You have unique constructions. You can only have one unique construction in your city. You can't have multiple unique constructions. So your city has to consist of 15 cards unless a card allows other workers to go there. I believe the farm allows the husband and wife, or the harvester and gatherer is the new term for them, to sit in that space. If you have them both, I think they can sit in that space and still not count as spots in your city, which is kind of cool. And like I said, the Wanderer, you have it for points, but it doesn't count towards your city. All right, so what you do is you play through. So playing cards, I explained. There is the, you place workers, you play cards. Now, the one thing that might be helpful to understand is what the different symbols mean on the cards. I know I kind of just quickly went over the different cards, but we can go over the symbols. Let's see if we can find them. Can I find them in order? Let's go with, well, we'll just go through here. So we have this purple symbol right here, right? It's worth both the base points and any extra points down here that you might get from the symbol, right? Then another card you might have is this one right here, which is the green production, right? Once you place that in your city, it activates. So the first time you put this down in your city, that activates and you get whatever's on that card. So here it says activate one of your other plant cards. I always call this plant card, green production cards, right? But also, I know it's kind of hard to see, but there is on here, I wonder if I can tilt it or if I'm going to spill. Like I said, I'm probably going to spill at some point. Let's see if it shows me. Yep. There we go. I should have thought that one completely through, but I didn't. I didn't want to. All right, we're just going to put these here all messy like instead of nice. But on here, when you prepare for a season in spring and in autumn, it also says that all your green productions go off. So you would also, once again, be able to make another, with this one, make another one go off. You have things like the farm, which once you place it in your city, you gain 1 berry. But anytime that something allows you to go off again, you would get another berry. So preparing for spring and autumn would allow you to do that. All right, what other cards do we have in here? I think there's 5. There's 5 different ones. So green, green, and paw. Oh, there we go. There's the paw. Okay, so the paw activates when a worker is placed on this position. So you see the little thing? So you could put the paw in your city, and that's cool. Pay for it, put it in your city. You can put a worker here to activate. In this instance, it is copy any basic forest location. Now, the locations, these are the basic forest location, or sorry, these basic or forest. These are the basic locations. These are forest locations. So you could put a worker here if these are occupied, or one of them that you really want to occupied, and you can do whatever's there. So let's say this is occupied and I want berries. I can put, if it's in my city, if I've paid for it, it's in my city, I can put one of my workers there and still get the 3 berries. All right, so there's that one. We're missing 2. Does anybody else have the magical 2 other cards? And look, they're building a city just free without paying. We got to look at them. There's the wife. Where is, there's the Wanderer. See, he is a wanderer. Oh yeah, a wanderer. He likes to wander. All right, so the Wanderer. So how this one works, activates once immediately when played, right? And it never activates again. So this one allows you to draw 3 cards. So you put the Wanderer into your city. So let's say Squirrel gets the Wanderer. I know we'll build a city like that. They can go ahead and grab 3 cards. As long as they can fit those cards. Remember, a strict hand limit. You can't go over. Now, if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you have 6 cards, you can still draw 2 cards because you can do partial. But there you go. So that's what that symbol does. Now let's see if we have the last one, which is the scroll, which I see it in the meadow, but now that I've reached for these, I want to look. All right, there's the scroll. There's the scroll. The judge is only 3 berries. So how does the scroll work? So with the scroll, it's just a different way to play cards. So in this sense, when you play a critter or a construction, you may replace one of anything with one of anything. So what it means is you can exchange, right? So this changes the way that you play cards and how you can put cards in your city and how you can exchange. Some allow you to put cards in, some allow you to get rid of that card to pay less for another card, all different things. But the scroll, which I'm sure it's not called the scroll, it's called the blue governance, blue governance. It changes how you get resources, how you play cards. So if they put that into their city, right? The next time that porcupines over here, or hedgehogs over here, put another critter into their city, let's say they get the, look at those 2 husbands. Husbands always, I can never find husbands. I always find wives. But the husband, once you pay, remember you always got to pay, but if you pay and put the husband in, or a construction, so I could have paid and got like the schoolhouse and anything like that, I can exchange some of my resources. Let's say I have pebbles, but I need berries or something like that. This card being in my city allows me to do that. Now, once you've played all your meeples, you can't play any more meeples, or played your card. And you could play a card, play meeple, play card, play meeple, play all meeples, play all cards, however you want. Once you cannot either place a worker or play a card from your hand, build your city, put a card in your city by paying, then you prepare for the season. So how do we prepare for that season? Preparing for the season is super, super simple. So on your turn, let's say they've got people out there. I know this doesn't match what's going on there, and they've got their city built. They can't do anything else. What they're going to do is they're going to prepare for season. So you bring back all your workers. Choop, choop. So you get back your workers. And then the next thing you do is you gain any bonuses that the season tells you. Remember I told you that this, for spring, if you're gaining for spring, you go ahead and you would do any of the green cards. So this, I can activate any other green card in your city. No other green cards. I also get the worker from up here. This is part of bringing back your workers, right? So once you do that, you wait until all the other players are done with all their turns, till they prepare for the season, all right? So then let's say Squirrel is done, can't place anything, prepare for the season. They take back their people. They can't play any cards into their city. They can't place any workers. They get that extra worker. And if they have any cards with the green symbol, and it says it on there, I know, oh yeah, you can kind of see it. Now I'm looking at this angle. It says it right here. Any of their greens will resolve, for one of my friends, though he doesn't watch my videos. I like to say pop, but less syllables. Once that pops or resolves, you can do any green cards that you have in your city. Squirrel has no green cards. Then you go around, and then once everybody has prepared for the season, because they can't either place a worker or play a card into their city, then everybody's done. Once that's done, then you just start back over again. So in this case, Turtle would go again. It's just the next player to your left goes again. Then they would start placing people out in the city, doing whatever it says there, and playing cards in their hand, and so on and so forth, until you make it through all the seasons. So now this season, let's say it's done. Very small cities for preparing for summer. But let's say we're preparing for summer. All these players had nothing they can do, right? They would get all their workers back, plus one more. And then they would also be able to draw 2 cards from here. And it says it right there underneath. They'd be able to draw 2 cards from here and put them into your hand. Remember, if it's a strict limit of 8, so you can't go beyond that, right? And then we go, if you're preparing for autumn, same thing. Let's say they prepared first. They're like zoinkers. They went ahead and prepared. They went zoinkers, right? They prepared, they went zoinkers. And then the greens get to pop again, right? Any greens that you have in front of you in your city. Your cities would be much bigger at this point. All right, so once you've made it through all the seasons, all right, so they prepared for this one, all their greens pop. At the end of autumn is when the game's over. But when you prepare for autumn, because you have nothing else to do, you get all your workers. You place them one last time out on the board, right? Or you just play through them, you place them and you play cards into your city and all that kind of stuff. Once everyone's done, that fourth go round, then the game is over and it's time to start counting points. Now, you can probably count points in any way you want. The book has a kind of rule that you go over, but like I said, it's these circles, these yellow circles with the number in it. So I think by the game it is base value of cards. So you look at all your base value, add those up. Once you do that, you look at any point tokens. These are your point tokens over here. Woo, throwing stuff. Any 3s and 1s and 6s. So any point tokens that you have, you count those up. Then you go ahead and look at your card bonuses. So your purple prosperity ones. So we have one like right here. You get 1 extra point for each unique construction in your city. Oh, so you can have multiple constructions. I think earlier I said you can't. But it says each unique. Maybe, oh, it's multiple critters. Sorry, you can only have unique critters. You can only have 1 unique critter, but you have multiple constructions. All right. So your card bonuses, and then you go ahead and you look at your journey points. So any points that you have on the journey track, right? And then the last thing you look at events, which can be both these basic events, right? Any of these that you would have in your city. So let's say that they had that in their city, and let's just say that, I almost knocked it over again, that Turtle has this, though they don't have the things, the city and the construction spot and the critter to have that, but let's just say they have that. The last thing you would count up is this, is the events. So it goes basic points. Oh, let's go ahead and throw one out there for him. Turtle for the win today. You go basic points, then you go point tokens, then you go any modifiers, which are going to be the purple card. It has that circle with the purple. It's going to be purple in the writing too. Any modifiers that you have. Then you're going to go ahead and add your journey and then your events. Once you do that, you go ahead and see who has the highest points, right? So if there is a tie, it's the person who has the most events. So special and basic events wins. If there's still a tie, the player with the most leftover resources wins. So, and it doesn't say after that, but I'm assuming if there's still a tie, it's a players share the tie kind of thing. But I mean, that's a lot of tiebreakers. So with all that said, that is how you play Everdell, right? And like I said, I know this is the guidebook, but it's how you play the basic version of Everdell. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm Steven with Cardboard Coalition. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.